Under the guise of brave soldierly discipline, the army is decomposing. This footage shows Russian soldiers who use narcotic substances near their dugouts and trenches. Such videos rarely appear on the internet, but what happens on it is more a pattern than an exception. According to interlocutors of the publication Verstka, up to 15% of Russian military personnel take drugs. They are easy to get in the occupied territories. They can be brought directly to the trenches.
Used out because of boredom, nobody cares. The main thing is don't bother anyone. There are taxi drivers who take it directly to the unit. The soldiers already know who to take what from. Money in advance, a meeting is scheduled for transfer. The place is at the entrance to the unit. Russian drug-using soldiers in a comment for the publication Verstka.
The military also uses other supply channels through colleagues of Russian volunteers. The latter pass through checkpoints without inspection. This is what drug-addicted soldiers take advantage of. Basically, prohibited substances are taken by those who were addicted to them before the war. The majority of users are mobilized once, say Verstka journalists.
During the mobilization last year in Russia, those mobilized were practically not tested for drugs. Because of this, many drug users ended up at the front, where they do not change their habits, but simply overpay for substances. We all saw last year how medical examinations were carried out during the so-called partial mobilization.
New drug traffickers came to the occupied territories following Russian troops. For example, since April 2022, criminals from the annexed Crimea arrived in the Kherson region, as well as areas of the Donetsk and Luhansk regions not controlled by Ukraine. After the occupation, as Verstka's interlocutors say, drug prices increased more than sixfold.
Last year, people in uniform came to the occupied territories, the Kherson region, Zaporizhia region, Donbass, and began to visit local dealers and try to take over the drug market. On the other hand, we see some changes on the internet. We see how drug stores on Telegram from the so-called Luhansk or Donetsk People's Republics started doing business in Zaporizhia, Kherson regions and Mariupol. We can absolutely say that all this would have been impossible without some kind of agreement either with the military or with the intelligence services.
Journalists know that cases of overdoses, including fatal ones, are common in the ranks of the Russian army. After all, the goods imported into the regions occupied by Russia are of poor quality. Nobody checks the Russian military for psychoactive substances in the body. But if you're caught using it, then there is a direct path to the Storm Z assault squad, or as the Russian military themselves call it, a suicide squad, which is sent to assault positions Ukrainian military. However, as Verstka writes, the severity of punishment does not negatively affect demand, because on the contrary, it is growing. Reported by Roman Smoler, Vasil Panasyuk, UA TV News.